This is not a home-style Calcutta Rezala recipe. This is a no-holds-barred recipe, which means that our only goal for this recipe was to make it taste as close to a Calcutta restaurant-style Rezala as possible. This is for people who truly enjoy the process of cooking. However, towards the end of the video, we will discuss how you can simplify the same recipe for when you have less time on hand. We had been looking for a reliable Rezala recipe for a long time. All the recipes we could find on the internet and in books produced a very delicious Rezala, but it was far from the kind of Rezala that we were used to eating in Calcutta restaurants. I am speaking of the watery, thin yet rich, flavorful, pearly white Rezala with a good centimetre of oil floating on the top that we have come to expect from places like Sabir, Aminia, Shiraz, Royal and Arsalan and their like. So just like the kochuri alur torkari from 2018, for those of you who remember, we went about reverse engineering the Rezala recipe. The first and the most exciting part, of course, was to taste all the Rezalas from our favorites. We tasted them side by side. Then sometime last year, we came across this video by Mr. Nadim Amin, who used to be one of the owners of Aminia. He sadly passed away a couple of years ago. You should definitely check out his channel. So his Rezala recipe acted as the base for our Rezala recipe. Using his recipe as a base, we made many batches with or without boiled onion, white onion, red onion, increasing, decreasing the amount of cashew poppy paste, with or without dry coconut. For several weeks, we were only eating Rezala for all our meals. Finally, we arrived at this recipe that we are pretty happy with. Let's answer a few questions that we know are going to come up. Why are we parboiling the chicken? You will see a lot of brown scum is going to float to the top when you parboil the chicken. This is produced from the bone marrow, any remnants of blood, the liver, the lungs, etc. Parboiling the chicken and then filtering the stock gives you a pristine white rezala gravy. Can I reduce the quantity of oil? You can cut the total quantity of oil and ghee by up to a half of what we have mentioned on the website. However, keep in mind that the silky mouthfeel of the rezala gravy comes from the emulsified fats, much like how a tonkotsu broth works in a ramen. How can I simplify this recipe for when I am in a hurry? If you want the easiest way to cook this, just mix all of the ingredients of the recipe together and put them in a pan and cook gently until the chicken is cooked. Except keep the milk, meetha atar and keora mixture for the end after you turn off the heat. Your rezala looks watery. Can I make it creamier? Some restaurants such as Arsalan make it slightly thicker, while older restaurants like Sabir and Shiraz, they make it much more watery. Rezala is actually not supposed to be very thick or creamy. I think of rezala as a white kalia rather than a korma because there's a lot of water left over even after you're finished cooking. You can control the creaminess by increasing or decreasing the amount of the cashew, poppy and the dried coconut mixture. If you want to make it like Sabir, you can also completely skip the cashew if you want and only add posto. Will it be sweet? Calcutta Rezala in general is quite sweet, with one exception. Royal India Hotel. Royal doesn't add any sugar to my understanding. If you like that style, you can totally do it. Even if you do add sugar, the quantity of sugar can slightly vary depending on what kind of onion you're using. The sourness of your yogurt is another factor because the more sour it is, the more sugar you need to balance it out. Our recommendation is to use something like a fresh curd, which is not very sour for this recipe. I want to cook this for a party. How do I cook it ahead of time? Rezala can be easily made ahead of time. The only problem is the milk aromatic mixture, which has to be added after the heat is turned off, which means that if you're cooking the rezala for later and you know you're going to have to reheat it later, then add the milk mixture after you have heated it for the last time, just before you serve it. As you can probably tell, this is a recipe that's very close to our heart because of the amount of work that has gone into making this recipe. We are very excited for you to try it out. Remember to tag us in your photos on Instagram. And if you want, you can go to bongeats.com/donate and make a donation to help us make these videos for free for everyone. Thank you. Also, we filmed this video sometime early this year and there have been a few changes in the proportion of ingredients since then. So definitely refer to our website for the quantities.